Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I'm John Sluice.
And I'm Lauren DeVries.
And we're going to be talking about Chris Hogan's Everyday Millionaire. We're going to be talking about Chris Hogan's Everyday Millionaires. This is the third of our books of the summer series, so thank you for those that have joined us on the first two. This one we ended up actually a little bit of an easier read. It's not as in-depth. It's not as theoretical or philosophical. It is more practical in nature. We're going to actually go into a little bit of the strategies for reading the book as well, if you want to skim. Not that we're giving you an out here, but we do understand it's later in the summer and things are getting ready. So and back to the regularity of the season, if you will. And so there's nothing really earth-shattering in this book. No. I think that's what you and I were talking about beforehand, and that we're acknowledging that we're acknowledging that you're not going to pick up this book and then read it and then put it back down and say, "Wow, I feel so much smarter because of this." Mm-hmm. But that's the underlying premise of what this is. It's the everyday millionaire. It's the idea that so many people assume that they can't make it. It's for the wealthy. It's for the smart. It's for the wise. It's for the other people, not themselves. And it's the exact opposite. Yeah. That it's almost anticlimactical.
Yeah. First of all, he defines...
It's almost anticlimactic.
Yeah, yeah, and he defines a millionaire not as someone who earns $1 million every year, but someone whose net worth, when they add up everything that they own, all their assets, equals $1 million or more. Which I started reading it and I subconsciously had the idea that it was someone who makes $1 million every year. There are a lot of really interesting stories. I loved reading about all these stories, but the funny thing is a lot of them were like the same. There's something reassuring about this book that you do not need to do something flashy to be smart and save and actually become a millionaire by putting small amounts of money every month away into, he suggests, your company's 401k or a simple IRA. It's not about doing these big, crazy investment schemes. But.
Yeah, and we're not giving financial advice here, nor does he really, but the premise on this is that it doesn't take a lot. You're going to rely on financial advisors to do the work behind you. You're going to rely on compounding interest. You're going to rely on those that are there. But for you, what it is making the conscious choice to just recognize that it's not someone else that's doing this. You can do this. He gives lots and lots of stories. And you mentioned that the stories somewhat seem repetitive. He even mentioned that. And that the idea is it's that reassurance that it is the average person that's out there. The interesting thing is today, millionaire has a different meaning than it did 20 years ago, than it will in 20 years as well. So that's a big part of it, is to understand that the number itself isn't important. He hits on millionaire, he hits on that mark that you're going to get in that idea. But what it is it's the idea that says the average person can do this. And that when they studied this, when Dave Ramsey and their whole group went back and looked at it, they were expecting to find certain characteristics of what a millionaire looks like. And they were surprised that it was not the case. And we're going to dive into a lot of these details in the third video that go through on some of the statistics, that some of the things that were interesting with it. For the purpose of today, understand you're going to be, as you read through this and dive through it, it's a fairly easy read. It gives you some insights into what it looks like to be just that average advisor or average saver towards these. So that it is achievable, it is doable.
So if you're someone who has not begun saving towards retirement, or if you're young and you're starting out and want to know where to go, or if you're someone who already has saved and you're wondering if you're doing it right, I think this book covers all those bases. It gives a really practical detail on how to get to retirement and get to a place where like you could be a millionaire. There are action steps at the end. And it's very easy to read because this is our little tip. He summarizes at the end of every chapter what a millionaire does and what a millionaire doesn't do.
So we're not telling you not to read the book,
Right.
but hypothetically, if that were where you were going, end of every chapter, very summary, and at the end of the book, there's a summary of the summaries.
Right.
Know from us that we acknowledge that there's a fire movement out there, which is saying that you can retire early. There are ones that say, do you need this? And there's all different movements back and forth. And so we're acknowledging that. This is one view towards it. This is the financial side. But at the end of the day, we are accountants. And so it's important for us to be able to say that, yes, this is a good goal to get to and work towards. You're going to give up some certain things and you're going to have to make sacrifices. But the point here is that it's not everybody else. It can be you. And it can be the individual that is watching this video, that you're seeing this. As you read through this, you'll find that you're not alone. Mm-hmm. Thank you for joining us here today. We look forward to next week when we have an interview with Debbie Craig with Craig Wealth Advisors. She talks about her experiences of her practice and the individuals that she works with and does solidify and follows behind with what Chris Hogan talked about, which is the everyday millionaires there. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to seeing you next week.